Maya loved her morning routine. Every day at 6 a.m., she would wake up in her beautiful home in Scottsdale and make coffee in her marble kitchen. Through the big windows, she could see the desert mountains that reminded her of home. But this wasn't home anymore. This was her new life, the life she had worked so hard to build. At 32, Maya owned the most successful real estate company in Phoenix. Her business cards read Maya River Properties in gold letters. She had dropped her Apache last name, Be Gay, years ago when she started in business. It was easier this way, she told herself. People took her more seriously. Her house was like something from a magazine. White walls, expensive furniture, and a pool that sparkled in the Arizona sun. But the most precious things in her home sat in a special glass case in her living room. These were her grandmother's turquoise jewelry pieces. Each necklace, each bracelet, each ring told a story of Apache women who came before her. Her grandmother, who everyone called Nana, had given these to Maya when she turned 21. "These belong to your great-great-grandmother and her grandmother before that," Nana had said. "They will protect you and remind you who you are, no matter where life takes you." Maya would look at them every morning before leaving for work. The turquoise stones seemed to glow in the morning light. Sometimes she would touch the glass and remember the stories Nana used to tell about each piece. But those memories felt far away now, like dreams from another life. Her fiancé Robert would often joke about the jewelry. "Why do you keep those old things in the living room?" he would ask. "They don't match our style," but Maya never moved them. They were her connection to something deeper than the perfect life she had built. Robert was everything Maya thought she wanted in a partner. He was a successful lawyer with his own firm downtown. He drove expensive cars and knew all the right people in Phoenix. When they got engaged 6 months ago, Maya felt like she had finally made it. She was living the American dream. Their engagement party was huge. All the important people in Phoenix came. Maya wore a designer dress and smiled for photos. But she kept looking at her grandmother's turquoise bracelet on her wrist. It was the only piece she wore anymore. The rest stayed safely in the glass case. Maya's business was booming. She had 20 agents working for her, and they were selling million-dollar homes every week. She had worked 16-hour days for 10 years to build this success. She started with nothing but determination and a small loan. Now she was one of the most respected businesswomen in the city. But success came with a price. She hardly visited the reservation anymore. Her family lived 3 hours away, but it felt like a different world. When she did visit, she felt out of place. Her expensive clothes and fancy car made her feel like a stranger in the place where she grew up. Her cousin Lisa still lived on the reservation and worked as a school teacher. "You've changed so much," Lisa would say during their rare phone calls. "When are you coming home to see Nana?" "She's getting older, you know." Maya always had excuses. Business was busy. She had clients to meet. She had deals to close. But deep down, she knew the real reason. She was afraid her family would see through the perfect life she had built and realize she wasn't happy. The truth was, Maya felt empty inside sometimes. She had everything she thought she wanted, but something was missing. She would stand in her big house and feel alone. Even when Robert was there, she would look in the mirror and wonder who she had become, but she pushed these thoughts away. She had worked too hard to get here. She had sacrificed too much to build this life. And besides, what would people think if Maya River, the successful businesswoman, admitted she wasn't happy with her perfect life? Every night, she would walk past the glass case with her grandmother's jewelry before going to bed. The turquoise would catch the light from the hallway, and for just a moment she could almost hear Nana's voice telling the old stories. But then she would turn off the lights and go to sleep, pushing the memories back where they belonged. Maya didn't know that her perfect life was built on sand. She didn't know that the man she trusted most was planning to take everything from her. She didn't know that her greatest loss would also become her greatest gift. All she knew was that tomorrow would be another day in her perfect life, and she would wake up at 6 a.m. and make coffee in her marble kitchen and look at the mountains that reminded her of a home she had left behind. The jewelry in the glass case would catch the morning light, as it did every day. But Maya couldn't know that soon, very soon, the case would be empty and her perfect life would come crashing down around her. She couldn't know that losing everything would be the only way to find herself again. For now, Maya River had everything she thought she wanted. But Maya Begay, the Apache girl who loved her grandmother's stories, was still waiting to come home. Maya was supposed to be in Los Angeles for 3 days, closing a big deal with some Hollywood clients. It was the kind of business that would make her company even more successful. But on Tuesday morning, she got a call that the clients had to cancel. Instead of staying in the expensive hotel, she decided to surprise Robert by coming home early. She was excited as she drove up to their house. Maybe they could have a nice dinner together or watch a movie. She had been working so much lately that they barely spent time together anymore. This would be perfect. Maya quietly opened the front door with her key, planning to surprise him. But she was the one who got surprised. She heard voices coming from the living room. Robert's voice and a woman's voice she didn't recognize. She walked quietly toward the living room and froze. There was Robert on their white couch with a woman Maya had never seen before. They were kissing, and the woman was wearing one of Maya's silk robes. Maya's heart felt like it stopped beating. She stood there for what felt like forever, just watching the man she was supposed to marry with another woman. The woman had red hair and was much younger than Maya. She was laughing at something Robert said. "Robert?" Maya finally said. Both of them jumped apart. Robert's face went white. The woman grabbed the robe tighter around herself and stared at Maya with wide eyes. "Maya, you're supposed to be in LA," Robert said, standing up quickly. "Obviously," Maya said, her voice shaking. "Who is she?" The woman looked between them and grabbed her clothes from the floor. "I'm going to go," she said, running toward the bathroom. "Maya, I can explain," Robert said, but he couldn't look her in the eyes. "Explain what? That you're cheating on me in our house? While I'm working to pay for this house?" Maya's voice was getting louder. "It's not what you think," Robert said, which was the stupidest thing he could have said. "It's exactly what I think," Maya shouted. "How long has this been going on?" Robert didn't answer. The woman came out of the bathroom, fully dressed now, and ran toward the door. "I'm sorry," she whispered to Maya before leaving. Maya and Robert stood there in silence for a minute. Maya looked around the living room that she had decorated so carefully. Everything looked different now, dirty, broken. "How long?" she asked again. 6 months, Robert said quietly. 6 months. That was exactly when they got engaged. Maya felt sick to her stomach. While she was planning their wedding, he was planning to betray her. "I want you out of my house," Maya said. "Maya, please, let's talk about this. I made a mistake, but we can work through this." A 6-month mistake? Get out now, but Robert didn't move. Instead, he sat down on the couch and put his head in his hands. "Maya, there's something else you need to know." Something in his voice made Maya's blood turn cold. "What?" "I've been having some problems." "Financial problems," Maya stared at him. "What kind of financial problems?" "I owe some people money. A lot of money." "How much money?" $2 million, Maya couldn't breathe. $2 million? How was that even possible? "I've been gambling," Robert continued. "It started small, but then I kept losing, and I kept trying to win it back, and now..." "Now what?" Maya whispered. Robert looked up at her with tears in his eyes. But Maya didn't feel sorry for him. She felt afraid. "I had to find the money somewhere," he said. Maya's eyes went to the glass case where her grandmother's jewelry should be. But the case was empty. Completely empty. "No," she whispered. "Tell me you didn't." "I'm sorry, Maya, I'm so sorry." "But I didn't have a choice. They were going to hurt me." Maya ran to the empty case. All of her grandmother's jewelry was gone. Every piece that had been in her family for generations. The necklaces, the bracelets, the rings that held the stories of Apache women who came before her. "Where are they?" she screamed. "I sold them. But Maya, I can get them back. Once I get back on my feet, I'll buy them all back." Maya turned around to face him. She had never felt such anger in her entire life. "Those weren't yours to sell. Those belonged to my family. They were priceless. They were just jewelry, Maya. We can buy new jewelry." "Just jewelry?" Maya couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Those pieces were hundreds of years old. They belonged to my great-great-grandmother. You can't just buy new ones." Robert stood up and tried to come closer to her, but Maya stepped back. "There's more," he said. Maya didn't think she could handle any more, but she had to know. "What else?" "I used the business accounts too." Maya's legs felt weak. She sat down in the chair by the window. "Which business accounts?" "All of them." The room started spinning. Maya's business accounts held money for her agent's commissions, money for pending deals, money for payroll. If Robert had taken that money, her business was finished. "How much?" she whispered. 800,000. Maya put her head in her hands. Her business was ruined. Her family's jewelry was gone. The man she loved had betrayed her in every possible way. I'm going to make this right, Maya, I promise. I just need some time. Maya looked up at him. This man she was supposed to marry in 3 months. This man she had trusted with everything. Get out, she said quietly. Maya, please, get out, she screamed. Robert grabbed some clothes and left. Maya heard his car drive away, and then she was alone in the house that suddenly didn't feel like home anymore. She walked back to the empty glass case and touched the spot where her grandmother's favorite necklace used to sit. The necklace that had been blessed by medicine men and worn by 5 generations of Apache women. It was gone. All of it was gone, and Maya had no idea how she was going to tell her family that she had lost the most precious things they had ever trusted her with. She fell to her knees on the white carpet and cried until she had no tears left. Her perfect life was over, and she didn't even know the worst was still coming. Maya thought finding Robert with another woman was the worst thing that could happen to her. She was wrong. The next 3 weeks showed her that her life could fall apart much faster than she had ever built it up. The first sign of trouble came on Friday morning. Maya was trying to focus on work, trying to pretend everything was normal when her assistant knocked on her office door. Maya, there are some people here to see you, she said nervously. What kind of people? Maya asked. They say they're from the bank. Maya's stomach dropped. She knew this couldn't be good news. 3 men in dark suits walked into her office. They looked serious and carried briefcases. Ms. River, we need to talk to you about your business accounts, the first man said. What about them? The man opened his briefcase and pulled out some papers. We've discovered some unauthorized withdrawals. Large ones. Maya already knew what they were going to tell her, but hearing it made it real. Robert had stolen almost $1 million from her business accounts. Money that belonged to her clients, money that was supposed to pay her agents, money that was supposed to pay for houses that people were buying. We're going to have to freeze all your accounts while we investigate, the banker said. For how long? Maya asked. Could be months. Maya looked around her office. Without access to her money, she couldn't pay her 20 agents. She couldn't close the deals that were pending. She couldn't even pay the rent on the office building. There's more, the second man said. We found out that your fiancé, Robert Martinez, listed you as a business partner on several documents. That makes you legally responsible for his debts too. But I never signed anything like that. The man showed her the papers. There was her signature on document after document. But Maya had never seen these papers before in her life. He forged my signature, she whispered. You'll have to prove that in court, the third man said. Until then, you're responsible for his gambling debts. All $2 million of them. Maya felt like she was drowning. Not only had Robert stolen from her, but he had also made her responsible for his debts. She owed money she didn't have for things she never bought. The next week was a nightmare. Maya's agents started quitting when she couldn't pay them. Her clients got angry when their deals fell through. The newspapers wrote stories about River Properties' financial problems. People who used to respect her now avoided her calls. Maya tried to find Robert, but he had disappeared completely. His law office was closed. His apartment was empty. Even his friends said they didn't know where he was. He had taken everything from her and then vanished like smoke. By the end of the second week, Maya got a call from her landlord. I'm sorry, Maya, but if you can't pay the rent on your office, you're going to have to move out. Maya looked around the office she had worked so hard to afford. The big windows that looked out over Phoenix. The conference table where she had closed million-dollar deals. The awards on the walls that proved how successful she used to be. How long do I have? She asked. End of the week, 3 days. She had 3 days to pack up 10 years of work and leave the office that had been her second home. Maya started packing her things in boxes. Her computer, her files, her coffee mug that said, World's Best Boss. Everything fit in just 5 boxes. 10 years of work, 5 boxes. Her assistant, Jennifer, was crying as she helped pack. This isn't fair, Maya. You worked so hard for all this. Maya wanted to cry too, but she had no tears left. She just felt empty and tired. On Friday afternoon, Maya packed the last box in her car. She looked up at the building where River Properties used to be. Her name was already being taken down from the sign. That weekend, she got the worst news yet. A man came to her house with more papers. Maya River, you're being served, he said. The papers said that the bank was taking her house. Because of Robert's debts, because of the money missing from her business, because of everything that had gone wrong, she couldn't afford to keep her home anymore. Maya walked through her beautiful house one last time. The marble kitchen where she used to make coffee every morning. The living room where the empty glass case still sat, reminding her of what she had lost. The bedroom where she used to plan her perfect future with Robert. None of it belonged to her anymore. She had 2 weeks to move out. But move out to where? She had no job, no money, and no friends left in Phoenix. Everyone who used to know her now knew her as the woman who had failed, who had lost everything, who couldn't be trusted. Maya sat on her white couch and tried to figure out what to do next. She could try to find a job, but who would hire her now? She could try to start over, but with what money? She could try to stay in Phoenix, but where would she live? There was only one place left to go. The place she had been avoiding for years. The place that would remind her of everything she had given up to build this life that was now gone. She had to go home to the reservation. She had to face her family and tell them what had happened. She had to admit that she had failed at everything. But how could she go home empty-handed? How could she face her grandmother and tell her that the jewelry was gone? How could she look her family in the eye and admit that she had lost the most precious things they had ever given her? Maya packed her clothes in 2 suitcases. That was all she had left of her perfect life. 2 suitcases and a car that the bank would probably take soon, too. She drove through Phoenix one last time, looking at the city that had been her home for 12 years. She had come here as a young Apache woman with big dreams. She was leaving as someone who had lost everything, including herself. As she got on the highway that led back to the reservation, Maya started crying again. She cried for her business, for her house, for her trust in Robert, for her grandmother's jewelry. But most of all, she cried because she was going home as a failure, and she didn't know how to face the people who had always believed in her. The drive home would take 3 hours. 3 hours to figure out how to tell her family that Apache Maya Begay had tried to become successful Maya River, and had lost everything in the process. Maya drove slowly as she got closer to the reservation. Every mile felt heavier than the last. She had made this drive so many times as a young woman, always excited to go home and see her family. But now she felt like she was driving toward her own judgment day. The landscape changed from city buildings to desert, then to the red rocks and pine trees of Apache land. This place had always been beautiful to her, but today it felt like she was seeing it through different eyes. Guilty eyes. She pulled up to her family's house just as the sun was setting. It was a small house, nothing like the mansion she had lost in Phoenix, but it had always been full of love and laughter. Now Maya wondered if there would be any love left for her. Her mother, Ruth, came out before Maya even got out of the car. Her face lit up with surprise and joy. "Maya, what are you doing here?" "You didn't tell us you were coming." Maya got out of the car slowly. She was wearing jeans and a simple shirt, not the expensive clothes her family was used to seeing her in. Her mother hugged her tight and Maya almost started crying right there. "Is everything okay, baby?" her mother asked, looking at Maya's face. Before Maya could answer, more family members came out. Her father, Tom, her cousin Lisa, her uncle James. Everyone was smiling and happy to see her, but Maya could see the questions in their eyes. Why was she here without calling first? Where was Robert? Why did she look so sad? "Where's your fancy car?" her little nephew asked. "And why do you look different?" Maya's cousin Lisa punched him in the arm. "Don't be rude, Danny." But the boys' questions were the same ones everyone was thinking. Maya did look different, tired, thin, broken. "Come inside," her mother said. "You must be hungry. I'll make you something to eat." Maya followed her family into the house. Everything looked the same as it always had. Family photos on the walls, her grandmother's blankets on the chairs, the smell of fry bread and coffee. But Maya felt like a stranger here now. They all sat around the kitchen table, the same table where Maya had done her homework as a child, where she had told her family about getting into college, where she had announced she was starting her own business. "So what brings you home?" her father asked. "Is Robert with you?" Maya's throat felt tight. "No, Robert and we broke up." Everyone looked surprised. They had all been invited to the wedding that was supposed to happen in 2 months. "Oh, honey," her mother said, reaching across the table to squeeze Maya's hand. "What happened?" Maya didn't know how to start. "How do you tell your family that your perfect life was all a lie? That you lost everything because you trusted the wrong person?" "He was cheating on me," she said quietly. Her Uncle James made an angry noise. "That fool. You're too good for him anyway." "There's more," Maya said. She took a deep breath. "He stole money from my business. A lot of money. I lost everything. The room got very quiet. Maya could hear the clock ticking on the wall. What do you mean, everything? Lisa asked. My business is gone. My house is gone. I have no money left. Maya's voice was getting smaller with each word. I don't have anywhere else to go. Her mother squeezed her hand tighter. This is your home, Maya. You always have a place here. But Maya could see the worry in her mother's eyes. This family didn't have much money either. They would share what they had, but it wouldn't be easy. There's something else, Maya whispered. This was the hardest part. The part that made her feel sick to her stomach. Nana's jewelry. The jewelry she gave me. Everyone looked at her. Her grandmother's jewelry was famous in their family. Passed down for generations, sacred and precious. What about it? Her father asked. It's gone. He sold it. All of it. The silence that followed was the loudest sound Maya had ever heard. She could see the shock and disappointment on everyone's faces. Her grandmother's jewelry wasn't just valuable. It was their history, their connection to ancestors who had lived and died on this land for hundreds of years. All of it? Lisa whispered. Maya nodded, tears finally coming. I'm so sorry. I know I let everyone down. I know those pieces were supposed to stay in our family forever. I failed. I failed at everything. Her mother was crying now too, not just because the jewelry was gone, but because her daughter was hurting so much. Where is Nana? Maya asked. I have to tell her myself. She's at her house, her father said. But Maya, maybe you should wait until tomorrow. You're tired, and this is a lot for one day. Maya shook her head. No, I have to tell her tonight. She deserves to know right away. Maya walked the short distance to her grandmother's house. It was the smallest house in the area, but it was where Maya had learned all the important things in life. How to make fry bread, how to braid her hair the traditional way, how to listen to the stories that connected her to her people. She knocked on the door softly. Come in, came her grandmother's voice from inside. Maya opened the door and saw Nana sitting in her favorite chair, working on a piece of beadwork. She looked up and her wrinkled face broke into a huge smile. Maya, my precious granddaughter. What a wonderful surprise. Maya had planned to be strong, to tell her grandmother the news calmly. But seeing Nana's happy face made her fall apart completely. She ran to her grandmother and fell to her knees beside the chair, crying like a child. Oh, Nana, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Her grandmother put down her beadwork and placed her soft hands on Maya's head. What's wrong, little one? Through her tears, Maya told her grandmother everything. About Robert's betrayal, about losing her business and her house, and finally about the jewelry. The jewelry is gone, Nana, the jewelry you trusted me with. I let a bad man take it, and now it's gone forever. I broke the chain that connected us to our ancestors. I'm the one who lost what 5 generations of women kept safe. Maya waited for her grandmother to be angry, to tell her how disappointed she was, to say that Maya had proven she couldn't be trusted with sacred things. But instead, Nana lifted Maya's chin so she could look into her eyes. Maya, she said softly, do you think those jewelry pieces made you Apache? Maya looked at her grandmother through her tears. They were our history, our connection to who we are. No, child, you are our connection to who we are. The jewelry was beautiful and it held memories, but it was just things. You are what matters. You are the real treasure that I've been trying to protect all these years. Maya cried harder. She had expected anger, but her grandmother was giving her love instead. I'm a failure, Nana. I thought I was so smart, building this perfect life in Phoenix, but I lost everything. I don't even know who I am anymore. Her grandmother smiled sadly. Maybe losing everything was the only way for you to find yourself again. Maybe you had to lose Maya River so that Maya Bigay could come home. Maya stayed with her grandmother until late that night, talking and crying and slowly starting to heal. But she still felt the weight of shame. She had come home empty-handed with nothing to show for 12 years away. She had let everyone down, including herself. As she walked back to her parents' house under the stars, Maya wondered if she would ever feel like she belonged anywhere again. Phoenix didn't want her anymore, and she wasn't sure she deserved to be welcomed home here either. She was caught between 2 worlds, and she felt like she didn't fit in either one. Maya had been back on the reservation for 2 weeks, but she still felt like a visitor in her own home. She spent most of her time in her childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling and trying to figure out what to do with her life. Everyone in her family was kind to her, but she could feel their worry and their questions. On a Thursday morning, her cousin Lisa knocked on her door. Maya, get up. We need to talk. Maya pulled the covers over her head. I don't want to talk to anyone today. Lisa came in anyway and sat on the edge of the bed. You've been hiding in here for 2 weeks. That's enough, I'm not hiding. I'm thinking. About what? How sorry you feel for yourself? Maya sat up angry. Lisa, you don't understand what I've been through, don't I? Lisa stood up and looked at Maya with hard eyes. Let me tell you what I understand. I understand that you left here 12 years ago because you thought you were too good for us. I understand that you changed your name because you were ashamed of being Apache. I understand that you only visited twice a year, and when you did come, you acted like you couldn't wait to leave. Maya stared at her cousin. She had never heard Lisa talk like this before. And now you're back, feeling sorry for yourself because your fake life fell apart. But Maya, the rest of us have been here the whole time, living real lives, facing real problems, and we never had the luxury of running away. I didn't run away, Maya said weakly. Didn't you? When was the last time you spoke Apache? When was the last time you came to a ceremony? When was the last time you cared about anything that happened to your own people? Maya opened her mouth to answer, but she realized she couldn't. It had been years since she had done any of those things. Lisa sat back down, her voice softer now. Maya, I'm not trying to hurt you, but you can't just show up here and expect everything to be the same when you've spent 12 years trying to be someone else. I didn't try to be someone else, Maya said, but even as she said it, she knew it wasn't true. Really? Maya River? You changed your name, Maya, you straightened your hair. You told people you were from northern Arizona instead of saying you were Apache. You wore business suits instead of anything that showed who you really were. Each word hit Maya like a punch, because Lisa was right about all of it. I had to, Maya said quietly. People in business, they don't take you seriously if you're different. If you're native. I had to fit in. No, you chose to fit in. There's a difference. Lisa stood up again and walked to the window that looked out over the reservation. Do you know what happened here while you were gone? Building your perfect life? Maya shook her head. The school almost closed because they didn't have enough money. The clinic lost 2 doctors. Half the young people left because there are no jobs. We've been fighting to keep our culture alive, to keep our language alive, to keep this place alive. And where were you? Maya felt ashamed. She had been so busy building her own success that she had forgotten about the place that made her who she was. But you know what the worst part is? Lisa continued.
Nana used to brag about you to everyone.
She was so proud of her granddaughter, who was successful in the white world. She thought you were showing everyone that Apache people could succeed anywhere. She didn't know that you were pretending not to be Apache at all. Maya started crying again. I never meant to hurt anyone. I just wanted to make something of myself. You could have made something of yourself without losing yourself, Lisa said. There are native people who are successful and still proud of who they are. You chose to hide who you were instead. Lisa came and sat next to Maya on the bed. Her voice was gentler now. Maya, I love you. You're my cousin and your family. But you can't come back here and expect us to fix you if you don't want to look at why you're really broken. What do you mean? You think you're sad because Robert stole from you. You think you're hurt because you lost your business and your house. But Maya, you lost those things because you built your whole life on lies. You lied about who you were. You trusted someone who didn't deserve it. And you forgot about the people who really loved you. Maya wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Deep down she knew Lisa was right. So what am I supposed to do now? Maya asked. First, you need to stop feeling sorry for yourself. Second, you need to figure out who you really want to be. Not Maya River, the successful businesswoman who was ashamed of her roots. And not this sad person who's hiding in her childhood bedroom. You need to figure out who Maya Begay really is. That afternoon, Maya took a long walk around the reservation. She hadn't done this since she was a teenager. She walked past the school where she had learned to read, past the community center where her family held celebrations, past the old cemetery where her ancestors were buried. Everything looked smaller than she remembered, but also more beautiful. The mountains in the distance were the same ones she used to climb as a child. The sky was the same endless blue that used to make her feel like anything was possible. She stopped at the place where she used to go to think when she was young. It was a hill that looked out over the whole reservation. She used to come here when she was upset or confused, and somehow the view always helped her figure things out. Maya sat on a rock and looked out over her homeland. For the first time in years, she really saw it. not as the place she had left behind, but as the place that had shaped her, the place where she had learned to be strong, to be proud, to be connected to something bigger than herself. She thought about the girl she used to be. Maya Begay had been confident and brave. She had been proud of her heritage and excited about her future. She had wanted to succeed, but she had never wanted to stop being Apache. Somewhere along the way, that girl had disappeared. Maya had convinced herself that she needed to change to succeed, that being Apache was something to hide instead of something to celebrate. Maya sat on that hill until the sun started to set. She thought about all the choices she had made, all the ways she had betrayed herself long before Robert ever betrayed her. She had spent 12 years running from who she was. But maybe, if she was brave enough, she could spend the rest of her life running back to herself. For the first time since coming home, Maya felt something other than shame and sadness. She felt the smallest spark of hope. Maybe Lisa was right. Maybe losing everything was the only way she could find herself again, and maybe, just maybe, the person she found would be stronger than the person she had lost. After her conversation with Lisa, Maya knew she had to make a choice. She could keep hiding in her room, feeling sorry for herself, or she could try to figure out how to rebuild her life. But this time she wanted to rebuild it as herself, not as someone she thought other people wanted her to be. The first step was scary. Maya hadn't been to a traditional Apache ceremony in over 8 years. But when her Uncle James invited her to a blessing ceremony for his new grandson, she decided to go. Maya stood at the edge of the circle, feeling out of place. Everyone else knew what to do, when to sing, when to be quiet. Maya had forgotten most of it. She felt like a tourist at her own cultural event. But then something happened. The elder leading the ceremony, a man named Joseph, looked right at her and smiled. Not a pitying smile or a disappointed smile. Just a warm, welcoming smile that said, "You belong here." During the ceremony, Maya found herself remembering things she thought she had forgotten. Words in Apache that her grandmother had taught her. Songs her mother used to sing. Stories about how ceremonies connected people to their ancestors and to each other. For the first time in months, Maya felt peace. After the ceremony, Joseph came over to her. He was an old man with kind eyes and hands that showed the work of many years. "Maya Begay," he said in Apache. "Welcome home." Maya almost cried when she heard her real name spoken in her own language. It had been so long since anyone had called her that. "I don't know if I remember how to be Apache anymore," Maya said honestly. Joseph laughed gently. "Being Apache isn't something you remember or forget. It's something you are. It's in your blood, in your heart, in the way you see the world. You can't lose it, even if you try." "But I did try," Maya said. "I tried to be someone else for 12 years. And did it work?" Joseph asked. Maya thought about her empty glass case, her lost business, her broken heart. No, it didn't work at all. "Then maybe it's time to try being yourself." Joseph invited Maya to attend a sweat lodge ceremony the following week. Maya had never been to one before. As a child, she had been too young, and as an adult, she had been too busy trying to be successful in Phoenix. The sweat lodge was a small dome-shaped structure made of willow branches and covered with blankets and tarps. Inside, it was dark and hot from the heated stones in the center. Maya sat with 7 other women, all of different ages. As the ceremony began, the elder woman leading it, called Grandmother Rose, poured water on the hot stones. Steam filled the small space, and everyone began to pray and sing. Maya didn't know all the songs, but she tried to follow along. In the heat and darkness, surrounded by the voices of Apache women, she felt something shift inside her. All the stress and pain and anger she had been carrying started to come out. Maya cried in that sweat lodge like she had never cried before. She cried for all the years she had wasted trying to be someone else. She cried for the trust she had lost in people. She cried for her grandmother's jewelry and what it represented. But most of all, she cried for the Apache girl she had left behind in her rush to become successful. When they came out of the sweat lodge, Maya felt different, lighter, like she had left some of her pain inside that small sacred space. "How do you feel?" Grandmother Rose asked her. "Empty," Maya said, "but good empty. Like there's room for something new now." Over the next few weeks, Maya started spending more time with the elders in her community. She helped Grandmother Rose with her garden. She listened to Joseph tell stories about Apache history. She sat with her grandmother Nana and learned traditional beadwork. Her hands remembered the patterns even though her mind had forgotten them. As she worked with the tiny beads, creating designs that her ancestors had made for centuries, Maya felt connected to something larger than her own problems. "You have good hands for this work," Nana said one afternoon as they sat together on her front porch. "I'm surprised I remember any of it," Maya said. "Your hands remember what your heart never forgot." Nana replied Maya was also learning to speak Apache again. She had understood it all along, but she had stopped speaking it years ago. Now she practiced with the children in the community, who giggled when she made mistakes but patiently helped her get better. One day, Maya was helping at the community center when a young mother came in looking upset. "My daughter needs help with her homework," the woman said in English. "But it's all in English and I don't understand some of the words." Maya looked at the homework. It was a history assignment about Native Americans, but it was full of wrong information and stereotypes. "This is terrible," Maya said. "This isn't our real history at all." "I know," the mother said sadly. "But if my daughter doesn't do it, she'll fail the class." Maya spent the afternoon helping the little girl with her homework, but also telling her the real stories about Apache people. Stories about warriors and leaders, about traditions and ceremonies, about survival and strength. "Why don't they teach this in school?" the little girl asked. "Because most teachers don't know our real stories," Maya explained. "They only know what they read in books written by people who never lived with us." That night, Maya couldn't stop thinking about that little girl and her homework full of lies. She thought about all the Apache children who were learning wrong things about their own people. She thought about how her business skills could be used for something more important than selling houses. Maya started visiting the school to volunteer. She offered to help teach the children about real Apache history and culture. The teachers were happy to have help, especially from someone who had been successful in the business world. But Maya made sure to introduce herself as Maya Begay, not Maya River. She wore traditional jewelry that her grandmother helped her make. She spoke Apache with the children and taught them songs their grandparents knew. For the first time since losing everything in Phoenix, Maya felt like she was doing something important. Something that mattered more than money or success or impressing people who didn't really know her. One evening, as Maya was walking home from the school, she ran into Joseph. "You look different," he said. "Different how?" "Happier. More like yourself." Maya smiled. "I feel more like myself. I didn't realize how much I missed being Apache until I started remembering what that meant." "And what does it mean?" Joseph asked. Maya thought for a moment. "It means being connected. To my family, to my ancestors, to this land, to something bigger than just me. I spent so many years thinking success meant standing out, being different, being better than everyone else. But Apache success means being part of something, contributing to your community, taking care of each other." Joseph nodded approvingly. "Now you're learning." As Maya walked home under the stars, she realized that she was starting to heal, not just from Robert's betrayal or losing her business, but from years of betraying herself. She was remembering who she really was, and for the first time in a very long time, she liked that person. Maya Begay was coming home to herself, and it felt better than any success she had ever achieved in Phoenix. Maya had been home for 3 months when she got a phone call that changed everything. She was helping her grandmother with breakfast when her mother answered the phone and called out to her. "Maya, it's for you. Someone named Patricia from Window Rock." Maya took the phone, wondering who would be calling her from the Navajo Nation capital. "Hello, is this Maya Begay?" the woman asked. "Yes, this is Maya. My name is Patricia Yazzie. I got your number from a friend. I heard you used to run a business in Phoenix." Maya felt embarrassed. "Used to, yes, but that didn't work out very well. Actually, that's why I'm calling. I think what happened to you happened to my family too." Maya sat down at the kitchen table, suddenly very interested. "What do you mean?" "My brother had a business in Flagstaff, construction. He had a business partner who was also his fiancée. She convinced him to put her name on all his accounts, said it would help with taxes and legal stuff." Maya's heart started beating faster. "What happened?" "She cleaned out all his accounts and disappeared. Left him with debts he never made and contracts he never signed. Just like what you went through from what I heard." "How did you hear about what happened to me?" "Word gets around in Indian country," Patricia said, "especially when someone targets native businesses. I think the same people who hurt you hurt my brother, and probably others." Maya felt angry and sick at the same time. "How many others?" That's what I'm trying to find out. I've heard about at least 5 native-owned businesses in Arizona that got scammed the same way. Always someone close to the owner. Always someone the owner trusted completely. Maya thought about Robert and how he had seemed so perfect, so trustworthy. What can we do about it? I don't know yet. But I think we need to talk to each other. Compare stories, see if we can figure out if this is all connected. Patricia asked Maya to come to a meeting in Window Rock the following week. Bring any paperwork you have, any information about the people who hurt you. Let's see if we can put the pieces together. Maya drove to Window Rock on a Saturday morning, carrying a folder full of papers about Robert and what he had done to her. She was nervous but also excited. For the first time since losing everything, she felt like maybe she could fight back. The meeting was in a community center conference room. When Maya walked in, she saw 8 other people sitting around a table, all Native Americans, all looking tired and angry and hurt, just like she had felt. Patricia stood up to welcome her. She was a small woman with gray hair and determined eyes. Everyone, this is Maya Begay. Maya, these are the people I told you about. As they went around the table, Maya heard story after story that sounded just like hers. A Hopi woman whose boyfriend had stolen from her pottery business. A Navajo man whose business partner had left him with massive debts. An Apache man whose wife had forged his signature on loan documents. The details were different, but the pattern was the same. Someone close to them had gained their trust, gotten access to their money, and then disappeared, leaving them with nothing. This can't be a coincidence, Maya said. This is too organized, too similar. Patricia nodded. That's what I think too. I think someone is specifically targeting Native business owners because they think we won't fight back, that we don't understand the legal system well enough to stop them. Maya felt her anger growing. They're wrong about that. Are we sure? Asked the Hopi woman, whose name was Helen. I mean, I tried to get help from the police, from lawyers, from the FBI. Everyone said it was a civil matter, not a criminal one. Everyone said I should have been more careful about who I trusted. Same here, said the Navajo man, Tom. They made it sound like it was my fault for trusting my own business partner. Maya thought about all the times people in Phoenix had made her feel like Robert's betrayal was somehow her fault, like she should have known better, should have been smarter, should have protected herself better. That's exactly what they want us to think, Maya said. They want us to blame ourselves and give up. Patricia spread some papers out on the table. I've been doing research. I think some of these cases might be connected to the same group of people. Look at this. She showed them photographs of several people, including Robert. Maya's stomach clenched when she saw his face. These people have been showing up in Native communities all over the Southwest, Patricia explained. They target successful Native business owners, usually single people or people going through changes in their lives. They build relationships, gain trust, and then they strike. Maya stared at Robert's photo. So everything between us was fake? Everything he said, everything he promised? I'm sorry, Maya, but yes, I think it was all fake. The room was quiet for a moment. Everyone was thinking about the people they had trusted, the relationships they thought were real. What do we do now? Helen asked. Patricia looked around the table. We fight back. Together. If this is organized crime targeting Native people, then we organize too. Over the next several hours, they made a plan. They would pool their information and hire a lawyer together. They would contact the FBI's office that handles crimes on tribal land. They would reach out to other Native communities to see if this was happening elsewhere. Most importantly, they would support each other. They had all been isolated in their shame and anger. But together they were stronger. We need someone to coordinate all this, Patricia said. Someone who understands business, who can talk to lawyers and investigators, who can keep us organized. Everyone looked at Maya. She had been quiet for most of the meeting, but they had all heard about her business background. I don't know, Maya said. I'm not exactly a success story. I lost everything. You lost everything because someone targeted you, Tom said. That doesn't mean you're not smart or capable. It means you were a victim of a crime. Plus, Helen added, you understand what all of us went through. You know what it feels like. You'd fight for us the same way you'd fight for yourself. Maya looked around the table at these people who had become her allies in just one day. She thought about all the months she had spent feeling ashamed and worthless. But here were people who needed her help, who thought she could make a difference. Okay, Maya said. I'll do it. Over the next few weeks, Maya threw herself into the work of organizing their legal fight. She contacted lawyers, filed reports with law enforcement, and reached out to other Native communities. She discovered that the scams were even more widespread than they had thought. The same group had targeted Native businesses in New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado too. Maya set up a support network for victims. She started a newsletter to keep everyone informed about the legal case. She organized conference calls so people could share information and encourage each other. For the first time in years, Maya felt like she was doing something important. More important than selling expensive houses to rich people, she was fighting for her people, protecting her community, using her skills for something that really mattered. One evening, as Maya was working on her laptop at her grandmother's kitchen table, Nana came and sat beside her. "You look happy," Nana said. Maya looked up from her computer. "I feel happy. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm doing something that matters." "This is why you had to lose everything," Nana said softly. "What do you mean?" "You had to lose Maya River so that Maya Begay could find her real purpose. You were always meant to fight for your people. You just had to find your way back to us first." Maya smiled and took her grandmother's hand. "I think you're right, Nana." Maya was finally becoming the person she was always meant to be, not the successful businesswoman who was ashamed of her heritage, but the Apache woman who would fight for her community, and this version of herself felt stronger and more real than Maya River had ever been. 1 year later, Maya stood in front of the new community center on the reservation, watching children run around the playground that had been built with money recovered from the lawsuit. It had taken months of investigation, court hearings, and legal battles, but they had finally won. The FBI had arrested Robert and 6 other people who had been running the scam that targeted Native American businesses. Maya and the other victims had recovered most of their money, and the criminals were facing serious jail time. But for Maya, the real victory wasn't the money or seeing Robert in handcuffs. The real victory was what she had found during the fight. She had found herself again. "Maya," called her cousin Lisa, walking toward her with a big smile. "The reporters from the Phoenix newspaper are here. They want to interview you about the community center project." Maya nodded, but she wasn't nervous about talking to reporters anymore. She had done dozens of interviews over the past year, telling the story of how Native communities had fought back against organized crime. She was proud of the work they had done together. The reporter was a young woman who looked impressed as Maya showed her around the community center. "This building is beautiful," the reporter said. "And you built it with money from the lawsuit settlement?" "Some of it," Maya explained. "But most of the money came from the financial literacy program we started. We teach Native business owners how to protect themselves from scams, how to understand legal documents, how to build successful businesses without losing their cultural identity." "And you run this program?" Maya smiled. "I coordinate it, but it's really a community effort. We have elders who teach traditional values, young people who understand modern technology, business owners who share their experiences. Everyone contributes." The reporter took notes as they walked through the building. In one room, Maya's Uncle James was teaching a group of teenagers about traditional Apache business practices. In another room, Patricia was leading a workshop on legal rights for small business owners. "What made you decide to focus on financial education?" the reporter asked. Maya thought about the question. "I realized that what happened to me wasn't just about one bad person taking advantage. It was about a system that doesn't prepare Native people to protect ourselves in the modern business world. We're taught to trust, to share, to help each other. Those are good values, but they can make us vulnerable to people who want to hurt us. So how do you balance traditional values with modern business?" "That's the beautiful part," Maya said. "We don't have to choose between being Apache and being successful. We can use our traditional values of community and cooperation to build businesses that serve our people. We can be proud of who we are and still succeed in the modern world." They walked outside to the playground where children were speaking Apache to each other as they played. Maya had helped start an after-school program that taught children both traditional, culture, and modern skills like computer, programming, and financial planning. These kids will grow up knowing they don't have to choose between being Native and being successful, Maya said. They can be both. After the interview, Maya drove to her grandmother's house for their weekly dinner together. Nana was 93 now and moving more slowly, but her mind was as sharp as ever. "How was your day, granddaughter?" Nana asked as they sat down to eat. Good, busy. The reporter seemed interested in our work. And how are you? Not the work, not the program. How is Maya? Maya smiled at her grandmother's ability to see past everything else to what really mattered. I'm good, Nana. Really good. Happy. Tell me why. Maya thought about it. A year ago, I thought I had lost everything. My business, my house, my money, your jewelry. I thought I was a failure, and now? Now I realize I didn't lose everything. I lost the things that weren't really mine to begin with. The fake life I built trying to be someone else. But I found the things that were always mine. My family, my culture, my purpose. Nana reached across the table and took Maya's hand. And what about the jewelry? Maya had been dreading this moment, but she knew it was time. I have something for you, Maya said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small jewelry box. Inside was a turquoise necklace, but not one of the old family pieces that Robert had stolen. I made this, Maya said. It's not the same as what we lost, but I wanted you to have something from me. Something that shows I understand now what those pieces really meant. Nana opened the box and gasped. The necklace was beautiful, with traditional Apache patterns worked in turquoise and silver. Maya, this is gorgeous, but you didn't need to replace what was lost. I know, but I wanted to create something new, something that represents who I am now, not who I was trying to be. Nana held up the necklace. Tell me about the pattern. It's a traditional design, but I added some new elements. See these lines here? They represent the path home. And these circles represent community, how we're all connected. The turquoise comes from our own land, and I learned to work with it from Grandmother Rose. Nana's eyes filled with tears. This is more precious to me than any of the old pieces ever were. Why? Because you made it with your own hands, with love, with understanding of who you really are. The old jewelry was beautiful, but it was made by people I never met. This was made by my granddaughter who found her way home. Maya helped her grandmother put on the necklace. It looked perfect against Nana's traditional dress. There's something else, Maya said. I've been thinking about starting a jewelry making program for young Apache women. Teaching them traditional techniques, but also helping them start their own businesses if they want to. That's a wonderful idea. I thought we could call it Coming Home, because that's what it's really about. Coming home to ourselves, to our traditions, to our community. Nana smiled. Perfect. As Maya drove home that evening, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. 2 years ago, she had been Maya River, successful but empty, rich but disconnected from everything that mattered. She had been so afraid of people knowing she was Apache that she had tried to erase that part of herself. Now she was Maya Begay again, and she wore her Apache identity like the turquoise jewelry her ancestors had created, with pride, with joy, with deep connection to something larger than herself. She pulled into the driveway of her new home, a small house on the reservation that she had bought with her share of the lawsuit settlement. It wasn't as big or fancy as her Phoenix mansion had been, but it felt like home in a way that place never had. Inside, the walls were decorated with traditional Apache artwork and photos of her family. In the place of honor, where the glass case used to be in her old house, sat a small altar with sage, cedar, and a photo of her ancestors. Maya sat on her couch and looked around her living room. Everything here was real. Everything here was hers, truly hers, in a way that her Phoenix life had never been. Her phone rang. It was Patricia, calling with news about another community that wanted to start a financial literacy program. Maya, you're not going to believe this. I just got a call from a tribal council in Montana. They heard about our work and want us to come teach their community. Maya felt excited. Their work was spreading, helping more Native communities protect themselves and build stronger economies. When do we leave? Maya asked. As she talked to Patricia about their expanding work, Maya realized that she had never felt more successful in her life. Not when she was selling million-dollar houses. Not when she was living in a mansion. Not when people knew her name all over Phoenix. She felt successful now because she was doing work that mattered, with people she loved, for communities she cared about. She was successful because she was finally, truly, completely herself. Maya Begay had come home, not just to the reservation, not just to her family, but to herself. And this time, she was never leaving again. The turquoise mountains outside her window glowed in the sunset light, the same mountains that had watched over Apache people for generations. Maya was part of that continuity now, part of that story that stretched from the ancient past into the future. She had thought losing everything would destroy her. Instead, it had set her free to be Apache. Free to be successful on her own terms, free to come home to herself. And that freedom was worth more than any jewelry, any business, any fake perfect life she had ever tried to build. Maya was finally, completely, joyfully home.